Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the Btec Level 5 courses. At first glance, ethics can seem unrelated to the business world and in particular to the workplaces that most of us are familiar with, but it is increasingly important for team leaders, supervisors, middle managers and senior managers in all types of organisations to have knowledge and understanding of this subject. It is about being fair, just and equitable, about making decisions that, if possible, are not damaging to others, and about having a set of personal and organisational values which ensure that the individual and the organisation behave in a morally correct and ethical way. For this unit, you'll need to satisfy the criteria exactly as laid down in the assignment brief and as described here, but you should, wherever possible, use examples from your own organisation and business sector, as well as showing evidence of having studied the unit topics in depth and breadth by referring, where appropriate, to relevant models, theories and established best practices. To enhance your understanding of these assignment issues, we strongly advise that you also discuss them with operational and senior managers and legal and HR specialists within your own organisation. Each section should be approximately 400 words, although this is flexible up to around 500 words, not including graphics or illustrations, so you will need to keep your responses focused on what is being specifically asked for in each section. Section 1. You need to discuss deontological and teleological theories, and don't be put off by these terms. There is information on these topics in your study materials and they are easily researched. You need to describe them, explain how they have developed over the centuries, and then give modern business world examples of them being applied. For bullet point 2, you will find good examples to base your discussion on if you search using the following terms: absolute ethics plus business example and relative ethics plus business example. On bullet point 3, think about issues such as discrimination in all its forms, bullying, harassment, fraudulent activity and deceitful activity, and look at how these can be poorly managed or poorly responded to, resulting in damage to morale, motivation and the culture of the organisation. Also consider product and service portfolio and marketing issues, such as selling products and services harmful to individuals or harmful to the environment. Section 2. You will need to research examples for bullet point 1, but in essence it is about how much, if at all, business objectives such as profit and market share targets, environmental policy targets, quality standards and longer-term objectives such as growth and expansion are driven by and influenced by a desire to behave ethically and fairly. Examples you could consider are that of a tobacco company targeting the third world as a new market to counter the fall in sales in the developed world, or a supermarket chain offering to build a new school alongside a new supermarket in order to gain planning permission. As a contrast, there are paper product companies replacing trees used to make their products, and food and beverage companies buying only from sustainable sources. On bullet point 2, you need to consider whether or not there are benefits to the organisation, its suppliers, its customers, its employees and its image in operating ethically. Will operating ethically put restrictions on its strategic options or on a business's ability to make sufficient profit, or will it actually enhance these options? Section 3. You will need to discuss whether or not a company or business should have morals, should behave ethically, should care about the environment, should care about the local community in which it is located, and whether or not it should treat its employees fairly. Most people would argue that it should behave ethically, but some would argue that this is unrealistic and that businesses should only care about making good profits in order to survive, pay wages, develop and grow larger. The last bullet point is about what is happening and what developments are occurring in giving employees more involvement and more decision-making powers. In theory there's a lot going on, but is the reality that in many organisations it is just empty words. Section 4. For this bullet point you could look at a major international level issue or one within your own organisation. For the first option you could look at Nike, BA, any of the global car companies, or any of the national or international oil and energy producing companies, and discuss how ethically and how morally they are or are not behaving. For example, it would be hard to say just now that BP had behaved ethically, and it would be even harder for any of the leading UK banks to say that they had behaved ethically. For a local own organisation issue, you could look at how discrimination by race, gender, age or disability is managed, or you could look at how bullying or harassment is managed within the organisation. Drawing on your response to the previous bullet point, say what actions you would recommend that the business should implement in order to ensure that the organisation and its managers behave more ethically, morally and fairly in the future. Finally, you will need to research this topic. Searching on Google using the phrase ethical code plus business plus example will produce some good links. Then either for the organisation you focused on above or for organisations in a particular business sector, produce a simple code of ethics. Don't forget that you also need to add a list of sources of information and references showing any books, websites, articles, case studies, reports, internal documents and people interviewed that you drew on in order to complete your assignment. The sources of information and references are not included in your word count. Here is a list of websites that you should find useful when completing this assignment. If you need any further help or assistance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.